This is part 4 of our sock tutorial on knitting 2 at a time on 1 circular needle in the magic loop method. Today we are going to finish our socks by putting the toes on, but before you do that, you would like to check the length of your sock just to make sure that you are at the right length. If you make sure that you have pulled your knitting needles so that they're hanging out with a lot of excess, you don't want to lose this loop over here. But you can now try your sock on your foot, and you want to make sure that where your toes will come out, which would be right here, that there is 1.5 inches left, because the toe is going to take up a space of 1.5 inches. So you want to try that and make sure that the sock is the right length before we begin on the toe. So, assuming that it is, we're going to begin with sock number 1. If you remember at the beginning, we put stitch markers on each of our sides of our sock. And we are going to begin doing the decreases for the toe. Yeah, the decreases remind me a lot of how we did the instep decreases right here along the gusset. They're very, very similar. The first stitch you are going to knit, and you want to make sure that it is snug. The second stitch you are going to slip. Then you're going to knit third stitch, and you're going to pass that slipped stitch, which will be your second one, over the third. There is one decrease. Then you're going to knit to the other side. You're going to knit to the last 3 stitches, and you're going to do the decrease on this side. Now your decreases, the way we did it on this beginning side, makes the decrease slant this direction to the left. You want this decrease to slant toward the right. So this decrease is knit 2 together, and as you can see, it slants this stitch to the right. And then you're going to knit the last stitch. So that is side 1. Then you're going to go to side 2, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to begin the first 3 stitches with knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, and pass the center stitch over that third stitch. Knit across to the last 3 stitches. Here we are at these last 3 stitches. We're going to knit 2 together. Knit 1. We've now done decreases across sock side number 1 and number 2. We're going to turn our work. We're going to do the same thing across sides 3 and 4. I've now done the decreases across sides 3 and 4, and I'm going to turn my work. That completed round 1. So round 1, you are doing decreases on all 4 sides, fronts and the backs of your socks. Round 2, you're just going to simply knit all the way around. We're going to repeat these 2 rounds until you have 12 stitches on each of the 4 sides.
So it'll be 24 stitches per sock, but it'll be 12 on the front and 12 on the back of each sock. So we'll come back when we get to there.
You now have both of your socks completed. You have the decreases done on both sides, and here is what they look like. You'll see a slight line on both edges right here and on this side here. You should have 12 stitches on the front, 12 stitches on the back for each sock. Now you can bind off these 12 stitches on each side in several ways. You can just bind the stitches off independently and then Kitchener stitch them shut. You could also do a 3-needle bind off, leaving them as they are. It would create a ridge along the top. The way I'm going to do it is I have clipped my yarn. I have clipped my yarn about 2 feet away from the sock. So I have about a 2-foot tail. I'm going to take the first sock and making sure I've got plenty of space here so I don't pull them off the needles by accident. I'm going to turn the first sock inside out. And I'm going to carefully pull the needles through. Now you can't turn the sock completely inside out because of course the cables are running through the center. But your main turn is going to be the top here. I'm going to do a 3-needle bind off, but by doing it with the sock inside out, the seam is going to end up on the inside of the sock. So now I can slide both of these needles down. So they're all the way to the points. Then I'm going to use a double-pointed needle. I'm going to go through the first stitch on the front and the first stitch on the back. So they're both now on that double-pointed needle. I'm going to take the tail of the yarn, wrap it around, and I'm going to knit through both the back and now the front. These 2 stitches are now going to come off. Again, I'm going to knit through the front, through the back, knit, pull it back through. So if I can get this close enough, through the back and the front, and pull it off. I now have 2 stitches over here on my double-pointed needles. I'm just going to slip the first stitch over the second, the same as you would with a normal cast off. And now I'm down to 1. Take this double-pointed needle, go through the front, through the back, knit it, pull it through both of these stitches. Now again, I have the 2 stitches over on. I now have it on both sides here, and I'm going to pull it off. I'm going to go through once again the next stitch in the front, the next stitch in the back, wrap around. I'm going to loop it under the back stitch, through the front stitch, slide these 2 off, and then I'm going to take the first stitch and pass it over the second, and I'm going to continue to do this across all 12 stitches. Your 12th stitch is going to be the tightest, and it is a little tricky to get it through there, so you just have to be kind of patient with it. And when you're at your last stitch, you can pull the circular needle out. You've got this final loop. Just give it a couple of twists. Slip your yarn through it. And draw it snug and tight. And then weave in your ends and turn your sock right side out. And there is your completed sock. There's the end of the toe, right there. You're then going to do the same thing for the remaining sock. You're going to flip it inside out as well. It's a little easier than the first one because you don't have the other sock attached, so it can completely flip inside out. Like this. There's your tail. And you're going to repeat the same thing until this sock is off. So that completes our making of 2 pairs of socks on 1 set of circular needles in the magic loop method. I hope you found this helpful. If you've enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up and please watch my Saturday videos. Thanks again for watching.